Oh!
Oh my God!
It's a tentative.
Noah! What is this, a boot?
Oh my God, is it being scanned to death? Ooh. It's curtains for you. Hello, everybody,
Hi there.
and welcome to
EVIL Asterisk
Podcast with Jeannie.
And Luis.
Well, we just watched
A Dead Thing.
The Dead Thing.
It's a movie.
It's not a monkey.
Not a monkey.
Not a
sadly.
monkey, a movie.
A movie with capital M.
Movie. Not a cow.
No, not a cow. The coolest thing is that it's shot in LA.
That is a very cool thing because, of course, we live in Santa Monica and we lived in LA for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've lived here for way too long. It's always neat to see because we see Canada, we see other areas.
No, not Canada.
Posing.
Canada.
Yeah, we call it Canada.
Canada.
Posing as LA.
Posing as Southern
Or
California.
usually posing as the Midwest
Well,
or something like
well,
that.
Toronto.
Or upstate New York.
Toronto poses for New York.
What poses as LA?
Vancouver.
Right, Vancouver is very similar. And
Yeah,
you've been to Vancouver.
Yeah, but Vancouver is very gray and the sun doesn't come out, so it's not easy to make that work.
That's true.
But
The
it's fun.
first thing I should do is read the synopsis. The Dead Thing. A young woman lost in a series of meaningless connections falls in love with a charismatic and sensitive man who hides a dark secret that turns her affair into a dangerous obsession.
Yes.
It is considered a dark romance, psychological horror. It's even somewhat considered a whodunit, which I think is kind of funny because it's not really a whodunit in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I was just talking to Jeannie while watching this thing, and I would
The
call
dead
it
thing or this thing?
the dead thing. And like I was saying, I would call it a gothic horror
Yes.
and a tragic horror romance, which
Tragic.
is more toward what Jeannie said.
Yeah.
You know,
Tragic
it's,
horror.
and then he would say, "Why is
Well,
it gothic?"
I would call it something else, but I'm not going to say. There's another term I would use, but I can't say it until the spoiler section. Once we're there, I will make that statement.
And the reason I think it's a gothic horror movie is because it's mostly about death, and that's not
It
a
is called
spoiler.
The Dead Thing.
Yeah.
So that's all we're going to say.
That's I'm making a good point. I'm not going into what is actually dead until
It's
the
a
spoiler
thing.
section.
It's a thing that's dead.
Yes.
We can just say that. Let's just say
Okay.
it's the dead thing. That's
Yes.
all anybody knows. When we started watching this, we did not read the description I
had
just
no
read
clue.
to you. The description I just read for the listening audience was not known to us. We had no idea. We sort of glazed over the thumbnail, which also is a little misleading, but that's it. Oh, I should also mention, because we like to give credit where credit is due, the director is Elric Kane, written by Elric Kane and Webb Wilcoxon. So it's very indie. And I want to say that we were super impressed with the end credits because they really took the time to thank everybody, and they even put them in different order. They said cast in a card and then had different cards for the cast, crew card with different cards for the crew, and then post-production, and really spent the energy, and a beautiful font which did look gothic. You mentioned gothic.
Yeah.
The font looked gothic, the music felt gothic, it felt noir at first.
And there's an organ at the end credits, a very powerful organ.
Yeah.
Where most of the music in the movie itself, a lot of it is flute.
Oh yes, we talked about the flute being tentative.
Yeah.
There's a tentative flute and then also a foreboding flute at various moments, and that was great because we don't usually
And
hear
then
a
toward
flute.
the very end, you hear this very kind of somber organ music.
Pensive.
Yeah.
Pensive organ. Let's see what we can talk about without going into spoilers. We obviously told you what the movie was basically about. It feels kind of Kafka-esque, sort of existential.
Lynchian, a little bit.
And Lynchian. The main character, she's looking at her phone a lot. She works late at night at a place where they're scanning things, and we don't know what they're scanning. It's very mysterious. She's only one of 2 people at the office. There aren't a lot of characters or not a lot of background. There's the fluorescent lights in the office. She uses a special sun lamp during, I guess, when she gets back from work, maybe before she sleeps, to kind of get things moving so that her mood is more enhanced. So she's using that old technique, that sun lamp technique, which made me think it was a period piece at one point, because I thought, we don't really use sun lamps anymore, do we? And it seemed odd. She has just this routine. So every day she goes to work late at night. She comes home, uses the sun lamp. She's on her phone. She makes dates using this app called Friction.
Friction with K.
That's, yes, Frik, Friction. And then makes these dates. As the description says, she's just sort of spinning her wheels. Goes on a date every night, seems. And then she shows up at work. And then she does the sun lamp. She has a roommate. I got the impression that the roommate was an old friend of hers. Oh, yeah, she did mention that.
They are, yeah.
So Alex is the main character. The roommate's name is pronounced Kara or Kara.
Yeah.
And then she has this work friend, but it's the only person there, this buddy that's kind of a little dorky and goofy, the only person that she works with. And they have a civil relationship. They seem like they're okay. They're good acquaintances. And that's about it. And it's a guy. There are some other characters that pop in. One is an ex-fiance of the roommate. She still hasn't fully let him go. His name is Paul. She even is at one point in her wedding dress. The dress shop had called and they still had the wedding dress. So she put it on and she was lying on the ground and is sort of wallowing in the fact that she's not going to get married and she's going to put it on eBay. She's going through a lot. But we have the main character who's just sort of, it's a very sad state of affairs. She's just having these dates and the same thing is going on over and over again every single day. And then there's another character that comes into play pretty early on. Is one of the persons she goes on a date with. They have a wonderful time on the date. She gets very attached, as it says in the description. She gets almost obsessed with the person that she goes out with. And it's the first time, because all the other times there were these guys she went out with and she didn't give a crap about any of them. And she would just go on to the next one and on to the next one. Well, this one sparked her interest and they stayed up all night together. So when did she go on the date with Kyle? Kyle's the character. What time did she see him?
Maybe 5, and I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't
because she said something about 2 a.m.
It's confusing.
That they were together at 2 a.m. So that's one thing that's confusing about the movie. It doesn't necessarily mean that's a problem. It could be an intentional thing. There's definitely confusion on our part on her schedule and when she works and when she dates.
So one thing that this movie does that's really interesting is that it figures out that LA can be a very lonely city, as we know from a lot of different movies, a lot of different periods in film history. It made me feel Collateral for some reason, showing LA at night and people being alone, people who live in the dark, work at night, who do things at a different time than most anyone else. And I think it works really well in that regard. It nails the aesthetic. At points, I could swear this thing was shot on 35mm, and at other points, maybe it was digital, but I wasn't sure. At least some of the scenes toward the end looked like 35 for sure and had grain on it. So maybe they just tricked us and they were that good. It hits really hard because, like Jeannie said, it's about someone living a very meaningless existence in a depressive state almost, using sex as an escape, going on meaningless dates with men and having sex almost every single time.
But clearly not into drugs and instead uses the sun lamp, which I think is interesting. Doesn't feel addicted to sex, just more of like, oh, it's a thing I need to do.
I don't think she's addicted to sex,
no.
But she's definitely using the dates and the sex for closeness.
Yes.
Like an artificial closeness.
Maybe. Because she never looks like she's into it until she meets Kyle. And then she has the sun lamp. That is interesting because she's not taking drugs. It's the first movie I've seen about a topic like this where the person doesn't have some other either alcohol or drug addiction. I actually thought that was a unique element in this film, that the character who's clearly not happy with her life, yes, she's going on dates. Yes, she's having sex. It doesn't feel like she's addicted to the sex. She uses a sun lamp. You could say it's more natural, a natural element, as opposed to taking drugs, drinking. She's not even smoking in the movie. It was different.
Imagine someone like this who's conservative, quote unquote, like Jeannie said, in terms of not really drinking too much, not only drinking casually or socially, not using any drugs. And the only thing she's doing that's really not that conservative is just going on a bunch of dates and having sex with everyone. So it's interesting because she, on the outside looking in, she's fairly conservative, Gen Z almost type.
Mm-hmm.
But she's indulging in these dates.
Yeah, and she gets her work done. She goes to work.
Exactly, that's my point.
She's actually really good at getting her work accomplished.
She's professional, she's responsible.
And the person that she's at work with, they have a fine relationship. They tease each other a little bit. I think we can say that she has this amazing date with Kyle, and he's just everything she would hope for. And they have this wonderful, innocent evening. Again, we don't know when she's leaving to go to work. It's very unclear. She mentions that she's there with him at 2 a.m., which makes me wonder when she's going into work. But in any case, she's there with him in the bedroom, and they just have this really nice, wonderful, innocent relationship. They share earbuds together. They listen to music. I don't know if he was professing that this was his band or if it was just a song that he really liked.
That's a good point. That was never
so they listened
clear.
To that together, sharing earbuds, something that Luis and I have done.
Mm-hmm.
He used that to get to me, playing Us and Them.
Yeah, it was.
Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
All right, so they did that. They drew each other. They did this interesting thing. She said, oh yeah, I used to do this in school, as if this is something that everybody does. I've never seen this before, but you take your left hand and your right hand, right? So you have one color in your left, one color in your right. In this case, the one color is just a pencil, just the regular pencil. And then there's sort of an orange, fiery, almost burnt sienna color in the other hand. And then you do a somewhat symmetrical sketch using both hands at the same time. And you draw the other person. Of course, it looked amazing, much nicer than something that maybe a lot of us would immediately do if we were sketching someone for the first time. And then he does, and he also does a good job sketching her.
Mm-hmm.
And they both have these somewhat symmetrical images, but one with pencil and the other with this more burnt sienna on the other side. So that was different. They spent the night doing those types of things with each other.
Yeah, I think that one of the reasons that night they spent together was so meaningful to her is because she felt seen. And it's funny because it's something that he says early on. He says, we don't have to talk, do we? And then he looks deep into her eyes and puts his hand on her shoulder or something. It's funny because it's such a cheesy line, but the way this guy was looking at her in such an innocent, open-hearted way, that's all she needed somehow.
Luis pointed out that the other guys that she had seen were talking a lot and maybe talking a lot about themselves, and then finally stopping and say, oh, so what about you? What do you do? He didn't do that. He actually listened to her, and then he said, oh, we don't have to talk. He didn't want to talk about himself. So she pressed him a little bit, but not much, and it felt natural. It felt organic. So after the date is over, she goes back to where she's very happy. Her work friend was complaining. He's like, I can't believe I have to scan these things all the time because that's all they're doing. We don't know why they're scanning and what they're scanning, as I mentioned before. But he's complaining left and right. He was complaining before, but they just have this banter. And then she says, scan, bitch, or something. She has a sign that she shows him. She's just in a really good mood, and everything's flowing for her.
She's happy for the first time in a long, long time.
We get the sense that maybe a day goes by, maybe more than a day, maybe a few days. And then she writes to Kyle. She texts him and just says, hey, he's just not responsive. So she's wondering what happened. She goes to where she knows he works because she asked him where he worked. And it was a place called Scotty's.
Yeah.
But she also knew from the app that he's a barista. So she goes to the place, and there's a new person there, and she doesn't know Kyle. Alex, the main character, gives a note to that person to give to Kyle. And we're both going, oh my gosh. Our feeling from this is, he doesn't want to talk to you anymore. He's not communicating with you. Why don't you say it?
Dude totally ghosted her.
So we think, what happened, right? And then she sees him
With someone else.
And then The mystery continues. He is clearly going on a date with someone else at the same place that
Same place.
and she's meeting someone else at that time too, but she's been obsessed with Kyle.
So she ditches the guy.
She ditches the guy she's with and then follows Kyle and the person that he's dating,
girl,
and then
yeah.
they walk up to this woman's apartment. It's like, what's going on here? I said to Luis, when I wouldn't have gotten a response the first or second time, I would have given up. And I would have deleted that number, gotten rid of it,
Yeah.
not contacted that person again. Most certainly wouldn't have followed the couple
Yeah.
when they're leaving the place. Wouldn't ditch my date, even if he was a weirdo. We already were kind of thinking, okay, this person's a little obsessed. And then something else happens, which we'll talk about in the spoiler section, and then we get more information.
Jeannie mentioned very early on in this episode. First, she thought it was a period piece. She thought it was maybe something set in the 70s. But of course it isn't. It's very much a current day thing. The initial credits definitely suggest, and the logos, the production company logos, Shudder's logo, they definitely suggest a nostalgia-infused thing.
Retro.
Kind of a retro aesthetic, for sure. There's no question about it.
But also noir. The fact that it's being called a whodunit, and there's some walking around and following, and it's a mystery. That's the other genre associated with it. I was feeling when it first started the LA vibe, nighttime, neo-noir. The very first thing that I thought of before I saw the night and the LA vibe and this kind of feeling of mystery, I thought it was going to be a period piece because of the way the logos appeared, some of the music feeling a little more of a throwback.
It was suggested early on through logos and music and some directing choices that this was going to be a nostalgic piece, and it is in some ways. That's where Gothic comes from. Gothic horror is not like the most popular thing in the world. Look at Guillermo del Toro's movie that everybody hates because it's Gothic horror and it was sold as a real horror movie.
I think this movie did not pretend to be something else. I thought it had a wonderfully straightforward, simple, it did have a throwback element to it because of the storytelling, not because of necessarily of the locations, although I did feel that making this more of a nighttime, chilling, LA, urban story did bring a little bit of noir into it. It felt like a simple tale that was focused enough, but had a couple of twists that you don't expect.
I think that this movie is exactly what it needs to be. In terms of the interesting twists and turns of the story, the writing needs to be commended because it's very effective. The writing is never in the way. We never had dialogue that sounds terrible. We never have an exposure dump that spoils a bunch of stuff. It's very minimalistic, and it works in this context, I think.
The writing, as Louise said, it doesn't get in the way. It's very straightforward, very focused, very natural, but at the same time, this is an unnatural life. She's working at strange hours. We really don't know when she gets to work. She's going through the motions. She's confused about what's going on with this person that finally made her feel like she was living because she didn't feel that. It's almost like she's walking around in a deadened state, in a numb state. There aren't very many characters, very small cast, very focused cast, very small number of settings, locations. As Luis said at some point when we were watching, he said there was probably like 5 locations. Her workplace, a bar, might be also a restaurant, but I think it's just a bar. Her apartment or home, very small number of locations. They show the lights, the night, the feeling of the chill in the air in the evening, because most of this takes place in the evening. I think the moments where it's actually day outside, maybe it's only when she's sleeping.
I think when it was light outside, she's supposed to be sleeping.
And we never see it.
And we don't see it. But I think when it's dark outside, because she doesn't get enough sunlight,
Right.
She has that lamp in her face. Because her work schedule completely goes against what most people do. So it's really hard to create a mental map of what an average day for her goes like.
That's a confusing element of the movie, but again, I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I think the movie is intentionally confusing you and putting you into a state where you're not sure what time it is. You're not sure how much time has passed. We're supposed to be living in a way vicariously through this main character, Alex. There's a sense of regulation in her life, but at the same time, it's such an unusual situation. Her work hours are so odd that you're taken off guard with what's going on in her life.
It wants us to completely lose track of time and not know what exactly is going on. I think it's very effective at that. You know, it would be a major problem for other movies, but for this one, it serves the story. It works.
Yeah. Before we go into spoilers, let's talk a little bit about the horror elements. The director does a good job of making you uncomfortable with the fact that you don't know what's going on time-wise, but also it's termed in some ways as a mystery, because you don't really know what's happening.
Yeah, in the beginning I even called it Hitchcockian, which
Yes.
it clearly isn't. But in the beginning it just had that low-key, kind of
Suspense.
creepy vibe with plenty of suspense. At the very beginning it was like, yeah, this thing is really kind of taking its time while not boring us. In terms of the internal aspects of each character, externally not much had happened at all, but it wasn't boring. And that's really hard to do, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. We weren't bored at all throughout the entire movie.
Never.
My attention was right there, and I felt like I was in a different world, and I didn't know what was really happening most of the time. But I do want to say that as far as the horror elements go, that yes, there's a lot of suspense. There was a feeling of dread pretty much through right at the beginning of the movie. I felt there was dread. Even when she was just looking at her phone and you weren't sure what was going on, and her life just seemed kind of like, what is happening with this person? What kind of life is she living here? And it just put everything off kilter to have the hours the way they were. When you start realizing what's really happening in this film, there's the feeling of what next? You still don't feel like you have the whole story straight. Well into the film, even though some things have unfolded, some mysteries have unfolded, and you have answers. You don't have all the answers, and then you have another twist. So it was really done well. We had to go and rewind a little bit sometimes. I remember you missed something. I said, look. And we rewound and saw, I'm like, ooh, something's going on in the background. Something's going on here. There was a blip. We missed it. Oh, let's see what that was. We were really engaged. The direction was great. The story was really interesting. The dialogue was fine. It felt organic.
Yeah, excellent.
It didn't feel stiff or forced.
I think that the thread of suspense from beginning to end was done incredibly well, and this is clearly very low budget film. I would be surprised if it cost more than 500K.
Yeah, but very effective.
It has to be cheaper than
Very
that.
effective.
You can see it's people's apartments being
Yeah,
used.
but it was fine.
Bars that people can go to and public locations and hotels or whatever. It's very grounded, which helps the movie. I tip my hat to the director in really doing a lot with very little.
And obviously, we both give it a thumbs up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to move to spoilers?
We have to. It's been almost an hour.
Let's do it. Here we go.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Is there going to be a
Spoiler
countdown?
alert.
Is there a countdown?
Here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Spoilers!
Spoiler. Now I have to pee.
Let's make sure people aren't listening unless they want a spoiler.
Are you ready to be spoiled?
We're about to reveal the identity of Kyle.
Well, actually, this is one movie where we love to say when we watch any kind of movie and they say, this is based in real life.
We say,
No
no
ghosts.
ghosts. Well, we
I don't
can't
remember
say
how
that
that-
here. It was the Elizabeth Olsen movie with the house.
Oh, yeah.
And it was something where it said it was based on a true story. And they, throughout the entire story, they kept having ghost-like things happen in the house, like it was a haunted house. And then we were like, well, wait a minute, this is based on a true story. And then we find out it's not a haunted house. Ah, no ghosts. That means it's based on a true story. Okay, so you could look it up.
And it basically works as almost a spoiler if you're not careful.
The name of this movie, Silent House. That's how this whole no ghosts thing came about. Where we said, okay, based on a true story, okay, no ghosts. We talked about Alex being obsessed with Kyle and trying to find out why he's not responding to her. Luis sort of gave it away by saying, yeah, he ghosted her. Well,
This dude totally ghosted her.
after not hearing from him, she sees him go out with someone else at the same place that she's at, where she's with someone she's not that interested in. She sees him. Now, the first thing I noticed, I said, Kyle's wearing the same shirt. Why is he wearing the same shirt?
Yeah,
That's
Jeannie really spotted that one.
He looks exactly the same. That's strange. Meanwhile,
What do you do?
she probably listened to him for an hour before.
Oh!
And guess what I noticed? He has the same shirt on. Hello. So she follows Kyle and the person that he's dating to her home, the person's home, and then that person leads him up to her door. That's exactly what happened with her. And she's thinking, man, is this guy a player? And he's just doing this with all these women? He did it with me? So that's a big problem, right? But then she goes to the cafe again, after already going there before to leave a note. She goes back there, and the same barista, who was new at the time, says, oh, you didn't hear. Oh, wait, I have something for you. And she gives her an announcement or a card that says, in loving memory, Kyle, whatever his name is. In other words, he died.
He is dead. What is that? The hell's this?
I'm so sorry.
Oh!
You're too close.
Oh my God.
Is this a joke?
Oh.
I'm so sorry.
Well, we know what the name of the movie is. Oh my God.
I think it happened just around the corner.
When? Oh. Then you kind of wonder, is he really dead? Or is this... Luis had this funny idea that, oh yeah, he went through an elaborate ruse just to get her off his back.
To throw her off his scent.
I'm like, what? But I thought, no, he's a ghost. And he's wearing the same clothes, which already gave it away for me, and I thought it was very strange. She found those earbuds in the street,
Yeah.
in the corner, and they were the earbuds that they shared that night.
That's kind
And
of
they're
a
all
weak,
broken.
That's actually kind of a weak thing for the movie to do,
Why?
because everyone has those earbuds. Everyone that buys an iPhone gets those.
No, but at the coffee house, they said, yes, it happened right around the corner. She went right around
She
the
went
corner.
right where he died
and
and
there were
found
his
his broken
earbuds,
earphone
and they were all
earbuds that
broken.
they shared. Well, it's also weird because they shared earbuds when they were not broken.
Every time he uses those earbuds, they look pristine.
That makes no sense. Unless he had that date with her and then actually died the same night.
We both thought that that was what it was. When we saw that the earbuds were broken, we assumed that he had had the date and then he died.
And then got a message there was a different girl on his phone, and then he looked, oh, she's pretty. One more woman that he was going to do that, but after he becomes a ghost, the ones that don't remind him that he's a ghost, he is fine with.
Yes.
But the moment he realizes, she's the only one that knows he's a ghost and accepts it. And
Right.
that's why he gets addicted to her. He
Right.
can't move on because of her.
And that's the thing we have to mention is, so initially she does see that he's going out with this other person before she realizes he's actually a ghost. She's not sure what's going on. She creates a fake profile, matches up with him again to lure him back into her life. And then he shows up and he doesn't remember her. That's the
Exactly.
key. That's how we realize, aha, we're right. He is a ghost. He's also wearing the same thing again. She shows him the drawings that they made, and he's really confused. He doesn't know what's going on. Aw, he doesn't
What is
have a
going
full
on?
memory. Aww.
We drew these. When did we draw these?
You really don't know, do you?
And then she accepts it, basically, that he's a ghost. He doesn't
Yeah.
say, you're a ghost. That's what I like about the writing, is that we figure it out while she's figuring it out, and no one has to say anything. And then she just has a wonderful time with him again. I think the first time we see an anger side of him is with the workplace, because he
Yes.
comes to her workplace. He shows up there. She's there with this other guy, her workmate, and he's fine and they're just friends, but he's pseudo hitting on her a little bit, but she's just sort of like, no, I don't date anybody I work with. And then you see in the distance, in the back, you see the door open.
Yeah. That's
And that
great.
was really effective. The door is opening. You're like, oh my gosh, he's here. Oh, the door. Did you not see it?
No, I heard it.
Wait. Oh, but you didn't see it. You didn't see it. You have to go back. Watch. Okay, watch. So what's interesting about the ghost is that sometimes you see him as Kyle and he looks exactly the same. Wears the same clothes. Very clean looking, very well kempt. And then you have the ghost, the feeling of the ghost, like air. He's invisible, basically. So the door opens, there's no one there. There's this invisible aspect of him. And then you see what he looked like when he died, which isn't really scary looking, but there's just a contrast. He's bloodied. He's completely dirty. Yeah, he's dirty. The shirt is ripped. Completely different because he looks so pristine otherwise. Different characters in the movie see him or feel him in different ways. They might feel his presence as an indivisible ghost. They might see him as he was when he was alive, right before he died. And they might see him as the bruised, battered, dirty, ripped corpse, basically.
That's a really good point. And one thing that Jeannie said during the movie that was insightful is that he is a ghost in the machine. Of course, the machine in this case is an app. It's a dating app. The fact that he was looking down at his phone, seeing someone's profile, and then putting his earbuds in, and then getting killed by a car, basically connected him to this app forever. And the app basically works as a way to summon him. She creates a fake profile,
Right.
and then she summons him.
I was saying, well, is he in limbo then? Is he a ghost that's sort of walking the earth and sort of in that limbo stage? That's what ghosts are, right? They're restless souls. So why is he stuck? It's like a glitch. It's almost like a glitch in the machine.
So, speaking a little bit about the stuff that I believe in something that's called the second death. So the first death is the death of your body, and the second death supposedly is the death of your astral body. Some people call it the body of emotion. So ghosts, when someone dies, the astral body is still around, and they're roaming in their astral body, and they can immediately go to different places, and they can be with certain people, and they can feel certain emotions. And if they have a hard time leaving, they get stuck. And they can get stuck for hundreds of years, centuries, whatever.
Oh, a good movie that does that is A Ghost Story.
Exactly.
Great movie.
And the other perspective is that sometimes the soul itself, which some people call part of the mental body, leaves, and the astral body stays behind as a husk. And that can happen if a lot of people are thinking about that person still and focusing on them. And so sometimes when people do a Ouija board, they would be talking to these husks and not the person itself. So he clearly got stuck, and now he has this codependent, romantic relationship with Alex. And that can still go very badly sometimes, as you clearly see in the movie.
You can use another genre, paranormal romance, which is becoming somewhat popular in the book area right now. There are a lot of novels being written about paranormal romances. And I think we saw a few movies in this genre. But of course, if you give that away, like saying unreliable narrator, I hate when they do that. We have a situation where she was kind of chasing after him and then discovers he's a ghost and then stays with him and really enjoys him, but then is slowly, in a way, getting destroyed by him because already her life felt meaningless, right? And then she has this situation where she's just this wonderful feeling with this person who may or may not have been alive when she saw him the first time and now is clearly a ghost. So at work, the one person you really see her communicating with on a regular basis, who happens to be a man, is her workmate. And he, as we were talking about, sort of pseudo hits on her, and then you see this door opening in the background. You realize, oh my gosh, the ghost of Kyle is here. He at some point beats the guy up a bit.
And he gets attacked, but he blames the girl.
Yeah.
So we weren't quite sure what happened there.
He gets let go or he leaves. We don't know if he was fired or laid off or if he said, I'm out of here and I quit. But he leaves the company. So when she comes back the next night, there's a new guy there. And he's more palatable than the other guy. The other guy was a little more neurotic and he was complaining about things, but also trying to help her and seemed fairly innocuous. But this guy has a little bit of charm, and he's goofy. He makes an offhand, off-color remark.
Yeah.
Well, that's right. The guy did get fired or laid off because he said, oh, what did the guy do wrong? Did he scan his dick? She's like, because they're eating in the...
And maybe you
in
shouldn't
the
be saying that in your first day to me, of all people.
Exactly, yeah.
So what happened Did he, like, scan his dick or something? Wow. Did I just say that? I'm sorry, that was...
Inappropriate?
Yeah, probably shouldn't be talking about...
Dicks.
Yeah, that. At work.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
But they form a friendship. He's funny. He's a character that has more personality than the other guy. Even though the other guy was definitely a friend, or he seemed friendly, let's say, it didn't click very well. Well, this one's kind of clicking. They're becoming better friends. Back to the roommate. The roommate is apparently an old friend of hers, Kara or Kara. She has this situation where she can't really let her ex-fiance go. She keeps inviting him over to pick up stuff that he left there. And that's sort of an old trick, right? The ex-girlfriend saying, or the ex-boyfriend for that matter, saying, oh, you left some stuff here, come on over. She doesn't invite him over as a way to reconnect and have sex. She's angry with him, so she's confused. She invites him over to get his stuff, but she's pissed. So it's always like, come over and get your stuff. You forgot this, you idiot. Or put signs on his stuff so that he comes over and gets it. She doesn't necessarily want to see him, but she wants to have some sort of presence. She keeps inviting him over for a reason. She put her wedding dress on that she had to pick up from the place. Clearly, she's not over him. She's kind of fooling herself into thinking she's over him. He clearly doesn't really seem to care either way, and it's not like he's trying to come at her and get back together with her and marry her. Well, we find out that he comes over thinking she's not there. He's going to grab the stuff that she left for him.
He goes into Alex's room, into her papers. So he's looking for a blank piece of paper so he can leave a note for Alex. We see Kara coming home and catching him in the act in her roommate's bedroom and says, what are you doing there? Get out of here, get your stuff. And then he leaves the box behind and he goes to his apartment.
He finds the box that he left behind sitting in his apartment. How do you think it got there?
Mr. Ghost.
The ghost put it there. Ghost has been doing weird things like that. He'll be moving objects around, putting things in different spaces, showing up quickly from one space to another, miles away. Very ghost-like. Paul finds the box in his apartment and he's like, what's this doing here? Because he realizes he forgot it and there it is. And then the presence of the ghost, which is basically the invisible version of the ghost, attacks him and
bangs
kills him.
his face against a fridge or a door or something, and then drags him and then kills him off screen.
Yeah, we're assuming he's dead.
Yeah.
We're not quite sure, but we assume.
And after that happens...
Then switch back to Kara. She goes into her room. The wedding dress is out of the box. The box is empty. It's on her bed. There's a note in the box. So we're thinking, wait, was the note for her? But no. The note was written to Alex, and it was from Paul. And guess why the note was sitting in that box in Kara's room? So that Kara would see. And what does the note say?
It basically says that Paul clearly had a fling with Alex and wanted to be with her.
He says in the note, it was more than a fling to me. I want to be with you. We had no idea there was any relationship between those characters.
We got completely blindsided.
That's shocking for Kara. That was a neat twist as well. But why did the ghost do this? Because wanted to let Kara know. Basically destroying everything around Alex.
He was tying loose ends, punishing people.
I think he's obsessed with Alex. He wants her for himself. He wants to do everything he can to mess up her relationship with everybody around her. And here's what tipped this whole thing off. Alex is getting tired of Kyle, the ghost. Because after she chases after him, thinking that he's alive, and then finds out he's dead, but still enjoying him, he's too much. He's very needy now. He's anchored himself to her.
They're really codependent.
So, yeah, it's a codependent relationship. He detects that the guy at work's interested in her, and he's a little bit creepy. So he beats him up. The guy obviously leaves his job. New guy comes in. He wants to keep her away from her job. He wants her all to himself. So here's the big clincher. She's trying to get away from the guy. He's, no, I need you. No, please don't leave. No, please don't. Very codependent, right? But it's a ghost. And then she goes to work, and she just looks like she hasn't had any sleep. And the new guy that has been a little more fun to be around, a nice guy and everything. He's like, oh my gosh, what happened to you? And we're all thinking, oh, she just looks really disheveled. She looks like she hasn't slept. She goes, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm a little late. And he goes, did you not get my text messages? She hasn't been able to even look at her phone. The ghost keeps hitting it out of her hand. So he's like, didn't you get my messages? Didn't you get Dale's messages? I guess the boss. That ghost is destroying her life.
Me?
Yeah, there's a woman
They
there.
didn't show for over a week.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. The time is messed up. When you're hanging out with the ghost, you can't keep track of time.
It's been 9 days.
Oh my god.
Is everything okay?
Oh my god.
What?
And she's like, whoa. She's completely befuddled. She's so confused. She has no idea. And that again reminds me of that wonderful movie, A Ghost Story, where she's almost like the ghost. She's been pulled into the ghost's world. Ghost doesn't keep track of time. Time just flies around.
Yeah, because
Could be
there's
like
no time
eons.
if you're dead.
There's no feeling of time.
Yeah.
So there's no sense of time. She doesn't have a sense of time because she's in the ghost's world now. So they replaced her.
So my pet theory is that everyone in this movie is dead. The lead character has been dead for a while, and that's why her life is so meaningless. And all these ghosts are having sex with each other using the same app. And the same people that go to work are dead. Her co-worker who goes crazy is dead.
It's limbo
That
for
it's,
everybody.
that movie shows LA as a place in a state of limbo. And everyone's
That's how it
there as a
feels.
ghost. And they all get stuck in their routine and they can't get out of it.
And remember, we were trying to discern whether she was dead. At the beginning, we thought, well, maybe she's the ghost. Before we were told that Kyle was the ghost. That was the most overt idea. He's just an angry ghost.
Let's pretend there is no quote-unquote ghost. That all these people died on their own hand. They have reasons to be dead. That's my whole point. She's in her wedding dress. He cheated and doomed their relationship. The lead character has depression. There's not enough people in this movie for them to say they're all alive.
And we should also just jump to the punchline and say what happens at the end then. So the epilogue shows Alex finally happy again. Maybe rid of her ghost.
Because she has said that she didn't need him anymore. She didn't want him anymore.
I don't want you anymore. It was sort of like the vampire thing. I am now rescinding my invitation. You are no longer anchored to me.
You said I could stay.
No, not anymore.
No,
Rescind your offer.
Yeah.
it's not possible.
What do you mean it's not possible?
It's like
You're here. I'm
an abusive
here.
ghost.
Alec, you're hurting me.
Don't do this.
I rescind my invitation.
So we assumed that could be the case, but then we saw there were 15 minutes more in the movie. We're like, okay, something's going to happen
not gonna
here.
end well.
It's not going to necessarily end well. So she is enjoying herself in 29 Palms with the new guy that she's been working with. You could tell that there was some chemistry there. And they're hanging out on the rocks or bouldering or rock climbing. And then they're in a pool at a hotel. It's just very nice, peaceful, fun. She gets up out of the pool to go take a shower. He stays in the pool. And of course, we know something's going to happen. I said there's way too much water here.
Yeah.
And then
Bad sign.
and we know, yeah, bad sign. We know something's going to happen. And then at some point you see that he's being pulled underwater. It's very sudden. He's a goner. Because the ghost got him alone, right?
Yeah.
Obviously poking around watching them. He's a peeping Tom. I see a lot of water here.
Me too.
Oh my god! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh, she's never gonna have a boyfriend. They're all gonna
This
die.
is terrible. What the hell?
Aw. The nice guy. Nice guys finish last.
As always.
He comes back to the hotel room, clearly not himself. You realize, yeah, of course he's dead. He's waterlogged, and he opens his mouth and water comes out. Kyle shows up again, right?
Then he pops up and he says, "We can be together," and then he jumps into his body. He
The
was dead.
boyfriend was dead.
Yeah.
So he's just animating the body. The insecure ghost feels rejected, and he's thinking in his weird state because ghosts really
They're definitely not logical.
They're not logical thinkers. He feels like, well, I'll just jump into the body of the new boyfriend and she'll want to be with me. It doesn't have anything to do with that, of course.
And then, surprise, surprise, she rejects him, which proceeds to mean game over for our protagonist.
She completely rejects him. He's tried everything he can to get back with her, and she doesn't want anything to do with him. So she's a goner as well.
The clincher is that she obviously is not at peace when she dies. As a result, surprise, she's also a ghost. And she's also using the app. She pops up on a date, and the moment she looks at her phone, while in the app, I guess, the reflection on the glass was her real form.
Which is basically her being strangled and showing the marks.
The contusions and stuff.
Yeah, contusions,
and bruises.
lacerations and stuff. The other idea would be that if indeed he was trying to jump into a body, which is what he was trying to do with the boyfriend, he was saying we can be together. If we don't use your theory that everybody's dead, we only talk about this one ghost. The dead thing is basically jumping into her body now and animating her or making her look like she's not a ghost. But she isn't really, because he basically possessed her. It's really him living through her as a ghost. He's the only entity that we can be sure is a restless ghost. We don't have any evidence that anybody else is a ghost in this film. She is not being summoned by the dating app. She's not restless anymore. She died in a situation where she had given up on that stuff, and she was with someone that she basically felt good about. And she would not regress, in my opinion, back to those habits. The only person that is using the app over and over and over again, in my opinion, is Kyle. And Kyle said, we can be one.
I think that when he was so obsessive with keeping her to himself, that in the process of killing her, he lost her forever. Because now she's also a ghost. Now she's going to continue to use the app just like he does. Yeah. And he'll never be with her anymore.
Well, where is he?
It's over. Yeah, it's not,
they
he's not on
didn't
screen.
make that clear. They only show her.
So he remains a ghost.
Exactly. So why don't we see him on
Because
the
it's
app?
about her at that point. He's gone. He's history.
These are all theories. Your theory is really interesting. I like the idea of having everybody be dead, but Paul doesn't fit well into that picture. The only time we see this character, Alex, in the daylight is at the end of the movie when they're in 29 Palms, which I thought was great. We finally see her. She's happy. Everything's light and airy, and she's out there in nature. So your theory is that the app summons ghosts.
In this movie, the ones that died in a violent way, in a traumatic way, and are heavily into the app, this movie is saying that this happens. I loved it. I know online people don't seem to like it as much.
Do we know why? I know you didn't want to read anything.
I think it's part of it is the micro budget. Part of it is the fact. Part of it is the fact that it's clearly shot cheaply, and it's a little loose with some details like we discussed.
Yeah,
but those are minor things, and I think the micro budget helps it. I think the LA locations are brilliantly used. Even people's apartments.
We don't see that often
look
enough.
Good. They did a good job lighting people's apartment, which is not easy. I think it's impressive.
I do too.
As far as a horror movie goes, and it's much better than a lot of more expensive movies.
It's better than a lot of movies that are more expensive. You're absolutely right, and ones that we've seen.
It's
even
criminal
on this podcast.
that this thing is such a low score on IMDb.
Well, I gave it a nice score. That's ridiculous.
I think if you love horror and you understand the genre, you're going to catch all those 70s references. And there's also a moral aspect where her undoing, the reason she dies in this movie is because of her moral failing about cheating with her roommate's fiance.
Yeah, there's that side, and she never told Kara.
That was part of her cycle, her never-ending cycle of one-night stands and being stuck in some depressive loop.
That's her flaw.
Yeah.
And she could have been punishing herself for what she did to her roommate. We never see her and Paul say boo to each other, as far as I remember.
And not only that, but at some point, the roommate tries to say, hey, I miss us. I want to hang out with you. We should go on a trip. Yeah, and the time we're wondering, why the hell doesn't she want to spend time with her roommate? Right. And then we find out immediately after why.
Wasn't there a situation, though, where she ripped her wedding dress? They fought a little bit. When she was lying there with the wedding dress on, it felt a little pathetic. Alex comes back, and they have this sort of back and forth tiff. But someone gets really angry, and I guess somehow Kara's wedding
She
dress
partially
rips.
ripped it, yeah. And she did it out of projection because
Yeah.
she was so angry at herself that she projected that anger on Kara
Right.
when she spotted Kara drunk wearing a wedding dress by
Right.
herself in the apartment.
Right.
There was a lot of guilt
Right.
in what happened. That guilt had been eating her inside for God knows how long.
The tone of the movie, it felt like there was a lot of dread. It also felt somewhat Kafkaesque, existential. The idea of the ghost, the app summoning the ghost getting confused and angry, wanting to possess, being super possessive of the main character, Alex, and trying to destroy anybody that gets close to her or anybody surrounding her. It was that idea of having this super codependent relationship.
I actually forgot that she just literally deleted a guy that she had sex with and just completely ghosted him and blocked him.
Oh,
and
right. She was the first ghost in
yeah,
a way.
it goes from that level to like a full-on codependent level.
Right.
An unhealthy relationship.
Right.
Which most people have with living beings.
Right.
You know,
This
and
is
not-
with someone
and-
who's
and
a
not
ghost. There was no word spoken at all until the work partner spoke, probably about 5 minutes into the film.
Something like that, yeah.
And then she didn't speak until about 10 minutes into the film. There was silence. She was so morose and disconnected with reality, which makes her ghost-like, with the world around her, that she didn't even speak for 10 minutes. Then, this idea that Louise just brought up, she was very standoffish. Someone texted her that had been with her, and she's like, deletes it, doesn't want to even talk to the person. Didn't she start to type a response, but then decided to
Yeah.
delete? So she had a possibility of communicating, but then decided against it and then deleted the thread altogether. And then she meets Kyle and has this wonderful time with Kyle, very almost childlike time. And then all of a sudden she's just happy, nestled in his arms.
Yeah.
Then obsessively tries to find out what happened to him.
Because he ghosts her. Quite
Exactly.
literally.
So
you know.
she's ghosting people, he ghosts her, and the rest
Well,
is history.
one thing that I think is really interesting is that the way he behaves with the women that he meets after supposedly being dead is this thing about not talking much and then say, we don't need to talk, right? And then putting his hand on her.
Right.
And then they had this magical night. And then the next day and night, he gets killed. So now he's repeating that behavior with all of them. Or if by the time they meet, Alex and Mr. Ghost, he was already dead by then.
We're not sure about
We're not
that.
sure about
but
that
those
side.
are interesting
But
theories.
they both work.
He makes that same statement. It works for her. It feels like a more organic statement. It didn't feel forced in that context because they had been communicating. And then he said, oh, we don't have to talk. It wasn't as abrupt as it was with the other woman. There is a chance that he didn't die until after they had their night together because the things that he repeated didn't make as much sense in the context of what was going on. This idea of, we don't have to talk, it was thrown out without any sort of prompting.
This line that he said, as far as us, the viewers, understand, worked naturally the first time.
First time with Alex was organic. Second time with the other date he went on after we knew he was dead, he abruptly said, we don't have to talk. The person initially had a flicker of, oh, that's an odd thing to say. But she really wanted to do something. And she smiled. And then she said, okay, you're right. And then they went in there and she thought she was going to have sex. The third time was awkward again with Alex. And I think that makes it even more obvious that he died after the first time he saw her. Is there anything else we want to say about the dead thing before we end this podcast?
Very commendable. 2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs up. And hopefully we'll help salvage the low IMDb score on this film because that's ridiculous.
And
Please-
Letterboxd.
Please see this film. At least give it what we call the 20-minute rule. If after 20 minutes you say ick, then you don't have to watch further. But please always try to give films 20 minutes.
At the very least.
Yes. If you've listened this far, you know what the movie's about anyway. So you either like the idea or you don't. We really feel that this movie needs a chance.
Deserves
because
it.
It deserves it. For sure. Shall we sign off? Sayonara.
So we bid you adieu.
So long. for now. Until next time, no ghosts.
Actually, there was a ghost in this one.